What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of Big Blue Avenue. My name is Tom Scavetta. I am your host of the evening, as always. And apologies, folks, have some audio problems there, but we're back. Make sure to go check us out if you're new on all of our social media platforms on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at Big Blue Avenue. We appreciate all of your support. So let's talk about some stuff here that happened over the past week. Our week 3 key takeaways from the Giants' loss to the Kansas City Chiefs on Thursday Night Football. Definitely a brutal game. Dropping to 0-3 is never fun. We know the big news of the week. Jaxson Dart has been named the starter. If you want my full breakdown on that decision by Big Blue, make sure to go check that out on our YouTube channel at Big Blue Avenue. So, week 3 takeaways. One quick thing I want to point out here, folks, is that Russell Wilson did see his last start for the New York Giants. They will not be going back to Russell Wilson ever, unless Dart gets hurt somehow, which I hope not. Russ did not look good. It now feels like there's something to cheer for this season with Jaxson Dart. His time is now. I'm really excited for this kid. I'm not getting my hopes up. You know, this is sooner than I wanted to see him. It's probably sooner than when you wanted to see him. But you have to consider all the factors that came into this. Brian Daboll's job security, right? Jaxson Dart's development, Russell Wilson's performance, the team's performance, playing him at home in front of the home crowd. That's all to consider when making this decision to start Jaxson Dart. And all in all, I think his time is now, and this is a lost season if you don't play him at this point, because the Giants have looked awful the first three weeks going into the year. The original plan was to not look awful, maybe go 1-2 and try to take it from there. But now the Giants are in a position where they have to make this change. They have to make this change to the rookie. They traded up multiple draft picks for him. And I'm interested to see what Jaxson Dart brings to the table in week 4 against the dominant team in the Los Angeles Chargers, a dominant defense. They have really good guys on their team, a good coaching staff. And all in all, I wish Jaxson Dart the best, man. This is not the ideal situation, but I think he'll handle it just fine. Cam Scavetta establishes himself as running back 1 on this team. Unfortunately, it happened due to Tyrone Tracy dislocating his shoulder. That is never ideal, but I do want to acknowledge the fact that Scavetta was getting reps before this injury even happened. He was pretty much on a 50-50 timeshare with Tyrone Tracy. And I think it's also important to acknowledge, by the way, that Cam Scavetta is a dog. This guy can play. He brings you a lot more in the running game between the tackles. He brings you a good amount in the passing game as well. And I just think he brings that winning grit, that winning pedigree. They need players like that. And that's what the Giants have been missing over this past decade plus now. Getting winning players who care. And I think Cam Scavetta is just that. Not saying he's going to be a superstar overnight. He's going to continue to improve, mature, develop, but he's already showing leadership qualities, which is very, very promising. Folks, before I go any further, make sure to leave a like on this video, share with a friend, and hopefully that friend will share with another. It definitely helps with the algorithm of the show, spreads it, more awareness. We appreciate it. And Malik Neighbors obviously is growing frustrated, right? So I think having young guys like Cam Scavetta who have that swag, who bring that energy to a locker room, will benefit your stars. With more stars, you have more budding stars, and that makes the stars even better, and it keeps them in check. And a big thing here is keeping Malik Neighbors in check, making sure Brian Daboll does not lose this locker room. That's why they made the move to Jaxson Dart. And let's be real. The defense did enough to win this game. They, in my opinion, Abdul Carter's been emerging. Their secondary wasn't great, but it's not like Kansas City had a barn burner type of game offensively. They had a few big plays here and there. Mahomes had some awesome throws down the field. You could argue they didn't do enough. Personally, I just think the offensive woes really cost the Giants. It really did. Another factor, the Giants need to move on from Graham Gano. He's been on the team way too long now. I believe this is his 5th season with the Giants at 38 years old. I like Graham Gano. I think he's a good kicker, but he's at the age where he's getting hurt. He's not durable anymore. Pulled his groin in warm-ups, said he can kick from 40 in, hit a 25-yarder, and went right for his groin. He definitely re-aggravated it in that moment. And not having Graham Gano kept 4 points off the board for the Giants on Sunday Night Football. Excuse me. So Giants signed Younghoe Koo to their practice squad. He'll compete with Jude McAtomney, the second-year Irish-born international pathway player out of Rutgers. Either McAtomney or Koo will be elevated to the 53-man roster and kick this week. Graham Gano has been ruled out. So that is one thing to keep a note in. When I saw Jamie Gillen go out for that extra point and have it blocked, that's just the epitome of the current state of New York Giants football, ladies and gentlemen. It's definitely not good. Koo really struggled with the Falcons last season, missed 9 kicks. Hopefully he does better for the Giants if he gets the opportunity. Lastly, Brian Daboll is on his last leg as head coach of the Giants. If you remember on draft night, when he made that phone call to Jaxson Dart, he said, "I'm banking on you, man. I love you." Because he is banking on him. All in all, he has a lot of jobs to save this kid right now. And Brian Daboll is certainly one of those jobs. Joe Shane is one. Mike Kafka is one. It's really, really bad right now. But when you hit on your quarterback and he plays well, that could quiet a lot of people. It's really, really important that Jaxson Dart has a good season as a rookie. You know, he's not going to be perfect. He's going to make plenty of rookie mistakes, I'm sure. But we want to see promise. We want to see development. And we want to see more good than bad. And it's a tough schedule. It's not going to be easy. But a lot of people are high on this guy. What we're looking for is above average right now. We need above average play from Jaxson Dart at the quarterback position, and that should keep the Giants in a position to win football games because Russell Wilson was far below average in 2 of his 3 starts, which is definitely a problem. And we saw what Caleb Williams did to the Cowboys last week, so Russ's performance doesn't look that impressive now after seeing what Caleb was able to do to the Dallas defense. I think it speaks more about Dallas's defense than anything else. Last week, we picked Russ as our New York Giants player of the week. We're not doing that this week. We're going with Cam Scavetta, the rookie running back out of Arizona State. And this guy is a bull. I love him. He had a touchdown on Sunday Night Football, 10 rushes for 60 yards, had that 13-yard touchdown run, averaging 6 yards per carry, ladies and gentlemen. 6 catches for 61 yards. He led the Giants in catches, yards on 8 targets, 121 total scrimmage yards, and now he's the starting running back for Big Blue. And he's earned that role. Even with Tracy being sidelined, I really think Cam Scavetta was headed towards that running back 1 role. I'm happy he has it. I'm happy Jaxson Dart has his role. It's a new era of Giants football. There's a lot to be excited about this week if you're a Giants fan, despite the 0-3 record. Put that aside. We just saw 6 years of Daniel Jones. It wasn't good enough. It wasn't good enough. Not all his fault, but now we get to see Jaxson Dart in week 4. And ultimately, I did not expect him to play in week 4, but my former co-host did. Let's play Sam Cardona's clip from draft night when the Giants selected Jaxson Dart.
Okay.
Have him set. Have him set. Have him set. And you know what? I bet you any amount of money, though, that he'll see the field this year at some point.
100%.
By week 4 or 5.
You're probably losing.
So Sam was right. She said week 4 or 5. My original thought, like my first gut instinct reaction was week 5. When I saw the schedule, I was like, all right, 4 hard games in a row, 2 against AFC playoff teams from last year, 1 against Washington, who made the NFC Championship game, and the other against Dallas, who we haven't been able to beat for the last decade. We beat them once in 2020 with Andy Dalton starting. That's the only time we've beaten Dallas since like 2016. It's not good enough, not even close. So quickly here, I want to go over some week 4 transactions. And folks, please, if you have any comments, questions for me, would be happy to answer them here in the comments section. We might have a buddy of mine joining in a little bit who was at the Giants-Chiefs game on Sunday Night Football. So we'll see if he's able to join us here shortly. We mentioned Younghoe Koo, right? Whatever. Not a great kicker anymore. Older guy, but brings experience, brings a competitive attitude to this team. Him and Mikatomne, it should be an interesting kicking battle this week. One of them will be promoted on game day to the 53 and kick. Giants named Jaxson Dart as their starting quarterback, not just for week 4, but for the rest of the season as well. And he's going up against the 3-0 Chargers. Now, I want to hone more on the history here with this decision by Brian Daboll. He pretty much took all of the credit for this decision, saying it's my decision. Usually when this happens, it's more of a collaborative effort. That wasn't the case. This was a clear desperation move because Brian Daboll is trying to save his job. They need to win football games, and they need to win football games now. The blueprint of Giants football is win the trenches, an old school physical mentality, rush the quarterback, and good quarterback play. They've had one of those 4 things that I've just mentioned over the past 10 years, 10 plus. And hopefully Jaxson Dart is able to turn things around for this franchise. We go back to 2004, right? The history. The Giants waited until week 11 to start Eli Manning. Week 11. The Giants were 5-3, either 5-3 or 5-4 at the time of Kurt Warner's benching again. I was 9 years old, so if I'm off by a game, that's on me. And Eli didn't look good his rookie year. He was 1-6, and the Giants won the final game of the season. It was week 17 against the Dallas Cowboys, and it came down to a Tiki Barber run for a touchdown. Eli was not good. We didn't panic. We didn't freak out. Again, there wasn't much social media back then in 2004, so it definitely worked in Eli's favor. But look what he turned out to be. Moral of the story is, guys, don't rush your QB's development, and don't judge based off one season, especially a rookie season. Different situation here in 2019. I think this is what people are concerned about, and understandably so. The Giants waited until week 3 to start Daniel Jones for Eli Manning, right? Looked great in week 3 against Tampa Bay. They won the football game. Daniel Jones come back. Oh, my gosh, everyone, Danny Dimes galore. And it turned out to be an awful season. The Giants wound up winning 4 games, I believe. Awful. I don't want the same thing to happen here with Jaxson Dart, but realistically, looking at the schedule, I don't see more than 4 wins right now, guys. I don't, which is why you can't weigh Jaxson Dart's success in his rookie year off of strictly wins and losses. That's unfair. And we all know that the Giants as a team stink. They do. How are the Giants going to bridge the gap and improve as a football team, right? We can't get into theoreticals. Oh, if Daboll's gone, if Shane's gone. I'm not going to go there just yet. It all starts up front and in the trenches. This rookie class needs to improve week by week. And the reason why there is now optimism for this season, of course, is what Dart showed us in the preseason, right? 32 of 47 for 372 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. And he's also got feet. He's a guy who in my opinion, again, he played against a mix of backups and starters in the preseason. He is going to throw the ball in areas where Russell Wilson did not, right? There's an interesting stat, and I want to bring this up. 16.4% of Russell Wilson's attempts were between 10 to 19 air yards. That was eighth lowest in the NFL. Now, Dart's stats in 2024 at Ole Miss from 10 to 18 air yards, 23.6% of his passes were in that category. Again, it's college. It's not the NFL. But SEC football is the only measuring stick we have here. It's the closest thing to the NFL that we have to use. Dart also led the nation in yards per attempt with the highest adjusted completion percentage. What that means is Dart is fully capable of throwing the football accurately into tight windows. He doesn't have a moon ball like Russ does, at least not yet. We don't know. That could develop over time. Dart is likely going to target different parts of the field that Russ did not try to throw to. And that's why I think there's promise here, guys. Russ, his stats as the Giants starter, an 0-3 record, 778 yards, a 59% completion percentage, 3 touchdowns, 3 picks, 16 carries for 94 yards. Much sooner than I wanted the move to happen. But the move has happened. Beat reporters were calling for it. Fans were calling for it. Dable listened. He caved in. Again, I don't know how I feel about it yet, but regardless of when this happened, I feel excitement. I feel promise for the first time this season. Heading into week 4 against a 3-0 team, by the way, who has a head coaching candidate on their assistant staff with Jesse Minter. So that is something to consider. All right, folks, let's get into our week 4 preview against the LA Chargers. And if you have any questions for me throughout this segment, make sure to chime in on those. We definitely want to hit on. And first and foremost, let's talk about the series all-time. So the Chargers are favored by 6.5 currently. They lead the all-time series 8-5, and they've won 5 straight meetings. It's been a long time since we've beaten the Chargers. The Giants have not beaten the Chargers since September 27th, 1998. Now the Chargers are off to a really good start this year, so it's going to be very difficult to break that streak. They are 3-0 for the first time since 2002. This was during the Drew Brees era. He was a very young player at this point. Brees was drafted in 2001. This was his second year in the NFL. Last week, the Chargers beat the Broncos 23-20. Lower scoring game, not incredibly low scoring, but 2 defensive juggernauts, to say the least. Justin Herbert is a guy that has really impressed me this season. I always viewed him as a top 5 quarterback, but he doesn't have the playoff stats to back it up, unfortunately. So with that being said, I think you really have to consider how to stop Justin Herbert in this game. And you're not going to stop him. You have to contain him. That's how you stop him. He threw for 300 yards last week, but he was sacked 5 times. So the Broncos, again, I just mentioned, stopping him is not actually stopping him. It's containing him. And that's what the Broncos did. It kept them in the football game. However, their rookie running back, Omarion Hampton, was really, really good. Unfortunately, they lost Najee Harris for the season. Show Hampton had to take on a larger role last week. He had 19 rushes for 70 yards and a rushing touchdown. He had 6 catches for 59 yards as well. And defensively, they still got studs. I know Khalil Mack is hurt. Denzel Perryman is hurt. But they still have Derwin James. He's been in the league for a long time. For a safety, he had 10 tackles. 4 of those tackles were for loss. Almost half of his tackles were for loss. I don't think people realize how impressive that is. 4 TFLs, that's what some safeties average per season in this league. Some don't even get that much. And he had a sack to go with it as well. So they're very efficient on both sides of the football. They average 23.5 points per game. They're 6th in the NFL in yards per game and time of possession. But they're riddled by key injuries their first 3 weeks. They have 3 offensive linemen right now who have been very limited in practice this week. Some of them haven't practiced at all. Bradley Bozeman dealing with an injury. Trey Pipkins has been limited in practice, as well as Mekhi Becton, who I believe is in concussion protocol. So with that being said, let's get into our keys of the game. Specifically here for the Giants, they have to protect Jaxson Dart if they're going to win this football game. There is no other scenario that I see the Giants winning this game if they are unable to protect him. The good news is that the Chargers don't have an insane number of pass rushers to go towards Dart and the Giants, and their offensive line is getting healthy, right? Andrew Thomas started last week. He was on a 25 play snap count. And Dart must have explosive plays. And I think you set those explosive plays up by getting the ball out quick with easy throws to start the game. The Chargers defense is prone to giving up some big plays. Last week, they allowed a 52-yard touchdown pass from Bo Nix to Cortland Sutton. And I mentioned the linebackers, right? Mack on IR, Perryman on IR. But they still have Tui Pelotu, who had 8.5 sacks last year. They have veteran Bud Dupree and the rookie edge rusher Kyle Kennard out of South Carolina. Those three guys are capable of making plays. But when you put tackles like Andrew Thomas and Jermaine Illuminor in the fray, it is very difficult to get pressure. So as long as the Giants O-line does their job, right? You have JMS and John Runyon going up against guys like Tart and Deshaun Hand. So I think the way you get Dart comfortable early is by those short, quick passes to guys like Malik Neighbors and Wan'Dale Robinson and Theo Johnson, and even Scavetta too. Those are guys that I think will get Dart's confidence up, will get him going. And then ultimately you can start working the ball down the football field, getting the ball to guys like Slayton, Neighbors, and hopefully somehow you got to get Jalen Hyatt involved somehow. It's pretty bad that he is an active player each week and never sees the field. It's incredible. Secondly, establishing the run. We know Jesse Minter is their defensive coordinator. He is an elite play caller, specifically against the run. The Giants don't have Tyrone Tracy. They're going to be going strictly with just Cam Scatterbo and Devin Singletary, and you'll likely see Turbo Miller getting called up from the practice squad. So a lot of people are definitely going to be happy about that. However, I would like to see Thomas Fidone active this week, especially in a game where you know that the run game might not be much of a thing. You need to get the ball out, and you're probably going to have to throw the ball a lot. So I do think getting Fidone in there will be pivotal to the Giants this week. Will he be active? I don't know. I can't say that. But I'm tired of seeing guys like Chris Manhertz and Daniel Bellinger barely getting snaps. I know they're blocking tight ends. I know they're important to the football team. But why do you need two of the same player? One is just older than the other. And I think Fidone is a very capable blocker, guys. I don't really think there's a reason why we should be sitting here saying, yeah, the Giants aren't going to be able to win. The Giants aren't going to be able to win football games as they continue to sit these rookies that they have. They have talent. Fidone is a 7th-round pick. I want to see him play. I really, really do. Comment here from Zach Hoffman. Zach, how are you? Thank you very much for your question. Can you see more of a split backfield when Tracy comes back, or will Tracy still take over that position? I no longer think that Tracy is the bona fide number one back. If you have him on your fantasy team, that is bad news. If you're relying on him to get majority of the carries, I think Scatterbo will get majority of the carries even when Tracy comes back, because I think Scat is just going to be that impressive as a rusher and as a receiver as well. And I think that's a problem for opposing defenses. He's a mismatch. He's a bull. He's tough to bring down. I think Tracy's value will more come as a receiver when he comes back. If you have him in PPR, it's more valuable there than standard scoring. So all in all, I hope that answers the question, Zach. I don't think Tracy's a bad player at all. He'll still continue to get worked into the offense. Definitely keep him on your bench but he is no longer an every week starter in fantasy football. We have to see how he is when he comes back. I would lean Scattaboo gets about 60 to 70% of the carries, even when Tracy comes back. That's my opinion. Kevin Mondello with a comment saying, hey, Thomas, let's go Giants. What's up, Kevin? Let's go Big Blue. New era, new starter this week in Jaxson Dart, and I'm really, really excited. I hope you are as well, because if Dart looks good, Giants might hang around and keep this one close, despite being 0-3 and then being 3-0. I'm going to get into the reasons why I think the Giants will keep this game close and why you should avoid the Chargers in Survivor this week at all costs. If you're in a Survivor league, do not pick the LA Chargers. West Coast team traveling to the East Coast, early start, bad news. That's bad news for a lot of West Coast teams. But anyway, let's talk about establishing the run. With Jesse Minter, they are elite against the run because they are big and they have good tackling linebackers like Diane Henley and Troy Dye. These guys are able to clog the A and B gaps specifically and help out their front four. The Giants have good guards, in my opinion, in Runyon and Van Roten in the run game. Runyon, better pass blocker. Van Roten, better pass blocker. They're good in run blocking, though. So it's going to be a challenge for the Chargers, I think, to contain Scattaboo for the whole game. Scattaboo's not running for 100 yards. He may get 60, 70 yards on the ground, and they're going to make Jaxson Dart beat them if they're going to win this game. And they play zone defense really, really well. So with that being said, you look at what the Broncos were able to do last week, right? J.K. Dobbins ran for 83 yards. That's 7.5 yards per carry. But you also have to remember that majority of that came earlier in the game. And then in the second half, they fell behind. They were throwing the football. The defense, it was just an interesting game last week. I would not look at that box score and say, oh, the Giants are definitely going to run the ball for 100-plus yards. You'd be mistaken if you think that. Because I don't know how this defense and how this secondary is going to stop receivers like Ladd McConkey, Keenan Allen, and Quentin Johnson. And right now, the number one quarterback in football this season, statistically wise, in Justin Herbert. How are you going to do that? I don't know. I think one way you have to do that is to get the ball in the hands of Malik Neighbors early. Last week, he only had 2 catches for 13 yards. The Chargers defense is banged up. Both Cam Hart and Dante Jackson popped up on the injury report this week. They were limited in practice, and Neighbors is going up against Dante Jackson. I think that's a huge mismatch for them. Remember, Sutton had that nice 52-yard touchdown catch last week against the Chargers, so I think that is something to consider there as well. Moving on towards the defensive side of the ball, you have to pressure Justin Herbert. This is point 1 on how the Giants can upset the Chargers this week. So you look at this edge rushing unit and defensive line for the New York Giants. You have Brian Burns, who has 4 sacks. He's gotten at least 1 sack in every game this year. Kayvon Thibodeau with 1.5 sacks. Abdul Carter with half a sack. Now, with McFadden on injured reserve, what stinks about that is Carter is getting more reps at inside linebacker and less reps at rushing the quarterback. Right now, Abdul is playing more of a QB spy role. So last week they did a good job at containing Mahomes' legs. Herbert can move too, but he's less likely to take off. The Chargers' offensive line is really banged up, though, which is why I think the Giants could be an upset potential team this week because of what they bring up front with Dexter Lawrence as well. You have to remember, Lawrence has been quiet. He's waiting to break out. He went up against Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith last week, 2 guys in the top 5 at each of their respective positions in the NFL. And now you got a matchup where you got a banged-up Bradley Bozeman, who has not practiced yet this week. If he doesn't play, you get Andre James, who's a below-average center. He's a backup for a reason. and then Jamari Salyer at right guard, who would fill in for the injured Mekhi Becton. So right then and there, that's an advantage for the Giants that you can take advantage of. So I expect Dexter to get at least one sack in this game. So all in all, you look last week, the Broncos had 5 sacks. They had 14 quarterback hits. That's why it was a 3-point game. Yeah, they're in the same division. Yeah, they have a better defense than us. They're one of the best defenses in the NFL. But you have to consider this. That was the most QB hits ever on Justin Herbert in one single game. And now you got Mekhi Becton, the starting right guard in concussion protocol. You got the center, Bradley Bozeman, who has a back injury, and the right tackle, Trey Pipkins, with a knee issue. So unfortunately, that is going to be a problem. But what the Chargers are able to do so well on their offensive coordinator, Greg Roman, is to get the ball out quick, to get Herbert moving out of the pocket so he has time to throw the ball downfield, whether it's the Ladd, whether it's the Keenan, or Quentin. Those 3 guys are going to be a problem. Tight end-wise, you got Tyler Conklin and Will Dissly. Dissly's a little banged up. He's always banged up. But, yeah, the Giants have always struggled to cover tight ends, and I think Herbert is going to throw for a lot of passing yards in this game. However, will there be more positive plays in the passing game for the Chargers than last week, or will there be less? Because the Giants bring a slightly stronger pass rush than the Broncos do. Where the Broncos have the edge over the Giants defense is their back 4. Denver is really good all around. The Giants specialize in one area defensively and are weak in everything else in terms of linebackers, safety play, and corner play. So that's why I think the Giants must get pressure on Justin Herbert if they want to win this game. And yeah, let's bring up our guest of the evening. We definitely have some questions for him. He was at the game at MetLife Stadium on Sunday night against the Kansas City Chiefs, returning guest of the show and a good friend of my brother's, Jason Edmondson. Jason, welcome to the show. Welcome back, I should say. Looking good.
Yo, Tom, can you hear me? I'm just making sure. Sound check.
Yes, sir. I can hear you.
Right.
Can you?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Awesome. So you were at the game Sunday night. What was the environment like? And what do you think led to this QB switch?
First of all, I just want to say I think any New York team is always going to have a really passionate fan base. From the time I was tailgating to the time I walked in, it was just let's go Big Blue. Like it was a very active environment. I love how we do believe we can beat any team, but at a certain point, watching the Giants for the past 7 to 10 years of my life, you kind of know like it's realistic games that we're not going to win and games that we can win. I knew before even walking into the stadium, there's no chance we were beating Kansas City. It started off good. I mean, the defense came out firing. Only problem is I like that we were getting after Mahomes, so we just cannot bring him down. Like that's all it really was. The secondary was playing pretty good for the most part. We were getting off the ball. We were tackling well. I just want to say like the offense is kind of what led to like the demoralizing factor in the whole stadium. And then you started to hear the fire Dable chants. We want Dart after literally the first quarter. So the QB switch, I saw it coming just because I think not that Russell is a bad quarterback, but this is not his system. I feel like he's a very he's an air raid quarterback. Like let's just keep it real. He likes to get the ball down the field. He likes to get the chains moving, but I feel like we're a very patient offense. The way we got Scatterboo involved was really good. He showed very good flashes of being a potential running back one for the next 3 to 4 years. Tracy unfortunately did go down, but we got some good depth with Singletary coming out. And yeah, like I want to see us have a more organized offensive scheme rather than just trying to moonball downfield every play.
And one reason why, too, I think they made the switch, it's less about Russ. It's more about Brian Dable and his job security, because remember what John Mara said: if they don't show signs of improvement this year, if they don't win more football games, they're gone. And I think you're guaranteed to go 0-4 with Russ as your starter this week. With Jaxson Dart, there's an element of unknown that
Right.
Jim Harbaugh now needs to prepare for. And it's not saying that Dart is already better than Russ. That's not what we're saying. But he's going to throw the ball more over the middle of the field, which Russ couldn't do. We mentioned the air yards. From 10 to 19 yards, Dart had a 7% higher percentage than Russ did this season. And that's what Dart did at Ole Miss last year. That's the only thing we can compare to at this time. We can't compare NFL stats. We could talk preseason, but that was against a mix of backups and starters. He saw both in the preseason. So it's kind of like apples and oranges in a sense. Do you think the chanting for Dart attributed to this decision, or do you think Dable is just clearly in survival mode right now?
Looking at it from a fan perspective, because I am also a player, so I'm trying to look at it kind of very unbiasedly, but looking at it as a fan, I do think the front office is kind of just listening to the feedback that they're getting from their franchise. But looking at it as somebody that's involved in the game of football, I do think Dable is very 50-50, but I'm going to lean more towards that it's Dable just looking for his own, excuse my French, backside. But I think it's really a move like Dable. He came in with Daniel Jones, won a playoff game. Like, he came in hot, and it's like we haven't seen anything that has matched that level since then. We've been through I don't know how many quarterbacks, DeVito, Locke. I'm pretty sure we had somebody else, Tyrod, and now we're at Russ. And I just think, like, at a certain point, you really cannot blame the talent. It's like you've been given 4 different players, and it's like the same thing is happening. So I do think this is a move from Dable, Joe Schoen, really trying to see, like, can we move on from this coaching style.
And what expectations do you have for Dart? Maybe not just this week, but for the rest of the season. I mentioned this before, and Eli, his rookie season was horrible. He was 1-6. His numbers were trash, but there was no social media back then. It was 2004. People weren't calling him a bust. He was awful his rookie year. Looked like a bottom 5 QB in the league. And look what happened. He got his 2 Super Bowls. He's likely going to be a Hall of Famer in the next couple of years. And he's the best Giants QB of all time. Like, do you see that potential there with Dart? What are you expecting?
So like you said, we can't really speak on anything we've seen in terms of a pro level. All we can really go is based off of what we've seen that he does in college. So in my opinion, I'm not saying, Jaxson Dart is going to be a top. Like, I'm not expecting him to have like a similar season to how like Jaden Daniels had last season, came in and was an established top 10 quarterback. Like, nah, I think Jaxson Dart, because again, you also got to look at like the system, like the pieces around him. He does have a solidified wide receiver in Malik Neighbors, but in that same sense, our offensive line has improved from what it's been in the past. But I don't think it's that top tier offensive line he's still gonna have some rush decisions to make. He's not gonna have as much time as he would like to throw the ball. I feel like we're really gonna see, like, for certain plays, we're gonna see it's just how smart you are as a football player. What are you gonna step up, take the sack, or are you gonna try to extend the play? From Ole Miss, we did see that he does like to get yards. He doesn't like to go out of bounds. He does take hits, which concerns me a little bit, because I do want my quarterback to stay on the field. But I'm not expecting him to do horrible, but I do feel like with the pieces around him, you have a reliable running back in Scavetta. You have an okay 2 tight end set right now with Bellinger and Theo Johnson. I think he's going to be a serviceable quarterback. I'm not expecting playoffs, but I do think he can lift us from like this 4-win team to like about 7 wins. So I do think he's a quarterback that we can rely on for the future. I do think he has top 15 potential. But again, that just comes with the pieces that you decide to put around him.
Yeah, I could definitely agree with that. And I think this season, if you're a Giants fan, that's what you would kind of hope for. Yeah, he's not in a position to look like what Jaden Daniels did with Washington last year, or CJ Stroud the year before. Stroud's taken a step back, but you could argue so many different things there as to why that's happened. But um, keys to the game with a rookie quarterback, with a rookie starting running back, with holes on the defense. How could the Giants upset the Chargers? What is one thing that Big Blue must get right and do perfectly in order to have a shot here?
Like you were saying before I came on, you gotta get to Herbert. Uh, Most passing yards in the league right now. He's tearing every defense up as he pleases. I do feel like you definitely got to force him to make those throws that he doesn't want to make. Or force him because Herbert he's a really smart quarterback. Force him to throw down the numbers. Do not let him see the middle of the field. And do not give him any shots towards his own towards midfield. Make those difficult throws down the numbers, and keep him on his feet. Do not let him stand still and analyze what we're in. Um, Throw a few blitzes at him. Like, just don't make him uncomfortable because it all starts with him. He's been getting Keenan Allen looking like he's back to his original Chargers version. Quentin Johnston's emerging as a wide receiver one. Like, Herbert, everything's going good for him. He's got a nice backfield behind him with Najee Harris and Amari and Hampton.
Well, Harris is out now.
Oh, Harris is out. Right.
Out for the year, unfortunately. Yeah.
Oh my God, out for the year.
So it's all Hampton.
Right. All Hampton. With that being said, though, offensive line has been looking like one of the top, I would say top 10 in the league so far, the way they've been protecting them. So I definitely feel like the key to this is get to the quarterback. And I would say in terms of the Giants and for us winning the game, I just feel like for Dart, take the simple plays. We'll take 4-5 yards, move the chains, let Scatterboo pound it down the middle. We don't have to. I feel like we always play in a position where we feel like we have to take those shots because we're always trailing. I feel like if we just take what the defense gives us, do not go for the risky play, and just take the 4 yards, get tackled, and live to fight another down. I don't like the 50-50 ball. Maybe it's intercepted. Maybe we catch it. I like playing safe.
Yeah, and I think with a rookie quarterback making his first start, that's a good strategy to have. I think Dart is fearless. I think he's going to eventually start throwing the ball down the field in this game. We know he's more of a tight window quarterback, and he fits balls into tight windows. So I think he's good in that regard. Yeah, I mean, I thought you said it perfectly. Now with the Chargers, their entire right side of the line is banged up right now. 2 of their starters might be out on Sunday, which is why I think Dexter Lawrence is a monstrous game. He's been kind of quiet to start the season. I know he has a new child, which is, awesome. But I think that definitely Dexter is going to get involved a lot in this game. My worry, Jason, is offensively, they have an insane trio of wide receivers in Ladd McConkey, Keenan Allen, and Quentin Johnston. You look at McConkey, under 50 receiving yards in back-to-back games. I'm not worried about that at all. That's just the Chargers spreading the wealth. You look at Keenan Allen, touchdown catch in 3 straight games. He looks like he's back to old form. And then Quentin Johnston, a guy who really struggled his first 2 seasons. People wanted to call him a bust. And look at him now. He has 14 catches for 239 yards, which, by the way, is 6th best in the NFL through 3 weeks, and 3 scores. And he has at least 71 yards or more receiving in 3 straight games. So you're looking at Drew Phillips, Paulson Adebo, and Cordell Flott, and even Tay Banks. I thought Tay Banks made a good play or 2 on Sunday Night Football. I know he's been rather disappointing. That's more of a scheme problem. We'll save that for a later day.
100%.
But how do you stop these guys? I mean, that's the worrisome for me. I feel like in this game, it's less about Dart and how he performs. It's more about just the defense and keeping these receivers somewhat quiet, no?
Yeah, you know me. Personally, I'm I'm a defensive guy, defensive back myself. I feel like from what I witnessed, and Kansas City, we know is one of the best passing offenses we've ever seen. I do like Phillips. Phillips has become one of my favorite players on the Giants just of his versatility. I do like how he can kind of play that nickel for us and still play outside. I think his coverage on Kelsey was amazing from what I watched. Kelsey was really quiet for the majority of the game. Phillips played what I think was a perfect game for a DB, except that one penalty he gave up that put the Chiefs in red zone positioning. But aside from that, I do like how we match up Paulson and Debo. In my opinion, I like the pickup, but he's been rather underwhelming to start off. I do want to see him pick it up a little bit. Javon Holland, I'd like how he comes downfield and is a run fit player. I do want to see. I want to see him be a little bit more smarter in coverage because there was a lot of busted coverage I saw against Kansas City because of his just natural reaction to scrambling quarterbacks. He plays more downfield than staying in his zone. So I do want to see him be a little bit smarter. I did want to say something about the defensive line. I do want to see. I'm quite curious about why we're having Abdul Carter in the box as a stand-up LB. I want to see him come off the edge a little bit more, but that could just be because we do have some of the best edge rushers.
Injury.
Yeah, like we got Kayvon, Brian Burns, but I want to see Abdul. Like I feel like he's being limited
Off the edge.
I don't like the fact that he's playing in the box. I feel like Bobby, Micah McFadden, they're doing a great job. So I kind of want to see him more like at his niche. I don't want to see him kind of playing out of position.
Yeah, I mean, we know he did that a little bit too at Penn State. I think McFadden being on injured reserve might have something to do with that. I think they're playing him a little bit more at the linebacker position because we saw guys like Swayze Bozeman trying to fill that role on Sunday night, and it wasn't just working too great. That's no knock on him, but he's a core special teamer in this league, and that's his ceiling. That's okay, but we can't have him starting games against teams like the Chiefs. And you're right. I mean, with Abdul, I thought we saw him make strides as a run defender on Sunday Night Football, and I think that's a player to watch in this game because we mentioned Bradley Bozeman has been practicing, back injury. Mekhi Becton has not cleared concussion protocol. And then right tackle Trey Pipkins is nursing a knee injury that he re-aggravated against the Broncos on Sunday. So all that leaves is Joe Alt and Zion Johnson as the two healthy offensive linemen. And I don't know about you, I am very excited for Joe Alt against Brian Burns on Sunday. Quickly here about Alt. He has not missed an offensive snap since his inception into the NFL last season. 0 penalties so far this season, and voted a captain in his second year. I mean, he is a guy that I would love to have on the Giants, bump Illuminor into one of the guard spots and then have him play right tackle with Andrew Thomas on left. That would be sick. Unfortunately, he's a Charger. And Brian Burns, Jason, 4 sacks through 3 games. I mean, this guy has done such a good job. He's got 3 pass deflections, too. He really is Spider-Man, isn't he?
Yeah. I mean, watching him in real time was like the way he gets off the ball is so fast. I do like how he plays the run. He's a very smart player. I'll say that. He does realize when we're in a situation where getting to the quarterback is not what we need, but rather than just keeping your contain, forcing the quarterback to step up and kind of feed Dexter and our interior guys, I do want to see that matchup because, like you said, Joe Alt hasn't even missed a snap since being drafted. I mean, that's something to look out for. I feel like Herbert is building chemistry with the guys that are healthy and the guys that. One thing to look at is like the guys coming in. Let's just say he has, the second strings playing. That's going to be something we obviously want to attack. We want to attack his weak side. And again, like I said, force him to get out of the pocket, force him to make those difficult throws. A player to watch for me. You said Abdul Carter. For me, I don't know. I want to say a DB, but I think it's gonna be Dexter Lawrence for me. I feel like it's gonna start with him. Him just blowing up that interior and forcing Herbert, like I said, to just keep escaping the pocket is gonna be what we want to see. I don't want to like. I think Herbert has had. Oh no, it's Daniel Jones, and then it's Herbert has had the most time to throw the ball this season, and I don't like that. I do not
Daniel
like
Jones.
that. Yeah, so I definitely want to see Herbert have less time to make these throws. I don't want to see him comfortable, and I want to see him making difficult throws down the sideline.
Yeah. You look at Herbert's numbers last week on third down. The Chargers were 8 of 17 on third down, thriving under Greg Roman, and he has 300-plus passing yards in 2 of his first 3 games. But you mentioned Dexter Lawrence as a player to watch. He's been sacked 10 times over the course of 3 games. That's the Achilles heel of the Chargers team. They're not the best pass-protecting offensive line, and that's why I think you have to win the trenches and you have to pressure LA in this game. It's going to be very difficult to stop Omarion Hampton in this game. Last week, the Giants did hold the Chiefs to under 4 yards per carry, but on average through the year, they've been giving up 5.2 per carry. So, Dexter Lawrence was a run defender. Bobby Okereke, Abdul Carter, who we saw improve in run defense. I think those are all keys to this game. And you mentioned the secondary, and you mentioned this guy before, Drew Phillips. I want to talk to you about him because I know you're a DB. Ladd McConkey is very slippery, right?
Yes.
We know, he's their number 1, but he's a slot guy. He's a slot number 1. Drew plays the slot, and he'll likely see a lot of Ladd. His numbers through the first 3 weeks are insane, right? He's got 4 passes defended, 1 pick, 2 TFLs. How important is that matchup going to be?
If not, besides Brian Burns and Joe Alt, it's the most important one because, like I told you, Drew Phillips is easily emerging to be one of my favorite players. Like if you look at his play style and what he's doing, and for you to say this is only his 2nd year, you would think this guy's a seasoned veteran. Like he's a really technical player. He's a really technical DB. He knows his strengths. I feel like he has all pro potential, and I see him shutting down Ladd completely. I feel like Herbert is going to be forced to throw those 50-50 balls to Quentin Johnson or try to find Keenan Allen over the middle, which I feel like is where Javon Holland comes into play and disrupts that whole entire inside the numbers for Herbert. But on the flip side of things, the Chargers have Derwin James, who is just coming off of a monstrous game. So I just want to see. I honestly want to see Dart attack the Chargers DBs because honestly, from what I've seen outside of Derwin James, the Chargers defensive backs are not really anything to be. I'm not saying they suck, but they aren't anything to be fearful of. So I think Dart has a great chance to make some plays down the field. And in terms of the Drew Phillips matchup, I think he has everything he needs to just erase Ladd completely.
I want to get to Meyer's comment here. Meyerson, thank you very much for the comment. I believe might be a first-time commenter. Guard play has to be better. They got to get push at the line. Secondary has to be better. They have not come through on third downs. Got to lock it down and stop trying to get creative in the red zone. Power eye, play action off the power eye. He's 100% correct about both of his points here. Third downs, the Broncos were just 2 for 13 on third downs last week. The Chargers defense, despite their average secondary, outside of Derwin James, of course, they are very used to getting off the field on third down. The Giants have to put an end to that. And I agree. The red zone offense is too cute. I don't like Kafka's play calling. I really don't. And that's part of the reason why Russ was benched too. It's not just Russ's inability to throw the ball over the middle of the field. It's not just his ability to be moonball or bust. It's his inability to make plays in the red zone. Jason, I believe you might have been sitting near one of the end zones on Sunday night. Russ constantly overthrows receivers in the end zone. It's kind of like he's just wasting a play almost because he can't see. He's a short quarterback behind, you could argue, all right, I think Greg Van Roten over the course of his career has been a good pass blocking guard, but he's 35 years old now. He's
Right.
not what he used to be. So I could totally see this argument. JMS, better run blocking center than pass blocking. John Runyon, he gave up a sack on Sunday night. So I do see that point. You want to get power I, and you're more likely to successfully run power I with a back like Scatterbo than you are with a back like Tracy. Tracy's not a power I back. As much as we don't like to admit this, guys, the Giants really don't have a fullback on their roster. Their true fullback is Daniel Bellinger. That's who their fullback is at the end of the day. He's not a tight end anymore, but he is important to the red zone offense, which is why I think Bellinger is key to this game, because if you remember in 2022, the Giants threw all these play action passes to Daniel Bellinger, specifically in the red zone. He had 3 touchdowns before the eye injury, and they haven't used him since. So if you line up Bellinger, Scatterbo in that eye, it kind of creates a new element offensively for me that I really think they could capitalize on in the red zone with Dart. So that's where I'm at with that. All right, next up, Jason, who are you stealing from the Chargers? If you had a chance to just overnight swipe one player, wake up the next morning, he's on the Giants roster, who are you taking?
Devin Henley, the linebacker.
Taking Henley.
I love how he plays the run fit. He's been playing like a Pro Bowler. Pretty sure he's logged like at least 5 tackles every game. He's not too shabby in coverage. He could improve a little bit in coverage, but he's not too shabby at all. He does make tackles for loss. He's a great run fit player. And him playing next to Bobby, I feel like that would just be like the greatest box in the league.
I like it, especially with McFadden being out. By the way, here's a stat about Henley that you folks might not know. This past Sunday against the Broncos was just the 5th time since the start of the 2024 season that he logged only 5 tackles or less in a regular season game. He still finished tied for the second on the Chargers with tackles behind Derwin James. Since his inception to the NFL, Daiyan Henley has played nearly every snap since being a 3rd-round pick back in 2023. And he's on pace to eclipse 100-plus tackles for a 2nd consecutive season. So with Denzel Perryman out, it puts more pressure on the backers like Henley and Dye to play well. For me, I'm a little biased because I'm a Notre Dame fan and I'm big in the trenches. Joe Alt, for me, like I said before, I think Meyer mentioned guard play just a few moments ago. I'd rather Illuminor play right guard instead of Greg Van Roten. And you could put Alt at right tackle where he started last season. And your offensive line play would improve tremendously. You have, in my opinion, this is my opinion, biased opinion, but the 2 best run blocking tackles in the NFL would be on the same team. That's how high I am on Joe Alt. There's a reason why he was voted captain his 2nd year. That doesn't just happen overnight. And we saw Andrew Thomas emerge a lot in year number 2. And unfortunately, Jason, I think we both agree on this. When Andrew Thomas is out, the offensive line falls apart. And I like Bo. I really do. But you could never have enough offensive linemen. You can never have enough. And with the Giants, it's been an issue time and time again. Illuminor's on a contract year anyway. Play him at guard. Put Bo at tackle or put Alt at tackle. Put Bo at guard. Leave Illuminor at tackle. And if they don't bring Illuminor back, start Bo at right tackle that next year and draft a couple of guards. I think that's kind of how you fix the line play. But for right now, I am stealing Joe Alt.
I mean, yeah, I don't even disagree with you, especially with that best run blocking tackle take, because that season when Andrew Thomas and Saquon were both fully healthy, we saw what happened. Saquon was back to being one of the best running backs in the league, and the majority of his runs were to Thomas's side as the lead blocker. So I definitely agree with that. I have a question though. Have we completely given up on Evan Neal? Do we think there's no hope for him at all, even if we move him to the interior?
On this team, there's no hope. In terms of the NFL, yes, there is still hope. This is my thing, Jason, right? Let's say if Runyon or Van Roten goes down, God forbid, right? Now that Andrew Thomas is back, it'll probably be Bo. But if Neal got an opportunity to start at guard, I think he would be a very serviceable starting guard in the NFL, kind of like what happened with Mekhi Becton, right? He did not work out at offensive tackle at all for the Jets. He gets traded to the Eagles, helps them win a Super Bowl, playing right guard for them. And now he's got a nice chunky contract with the Chargers. Unfortunately, he's hurt, and he likely won't play on Sunday. But I think that could be a potential Evan Neal story, if that makes sense. I think a change of scenery and competing for a starting guard role is more of Evan Neal's career ceiling at this point. A starting guard on a different team in a lower market. That's how I feel.
I mean, just look at our quarterback from last year. He's doing it right now.
He's 3-0, and yes, the Colts' opponents have been a combined 1-8. But ultimately, and again, apologies for bringing this up, folks. I know he's not on the team anymore. Daniel Jones' success on Indianapolis is a perfect example as to why they are forced to start Jaxson Dart in Week 4. Malik Neighbors made a quote last year to the media that was 1,000% correct, and it was after Tommy DeVito started his first game after Jones got benched, and they got blasted. It's not the quarterback. Or it ain't the quarterback. Malik Neighbors said that while chewing his gum very loudly, I should say. He was 100% correct. You don't want this man to force a trade. I'm very, very, very hesitant. And there's the reminder, NFL game starting in 15 minutes. So we do have to get out of here shortly. But Jason, I don't know how you feel about that. I think Jones' success, it's not just Barkley, right? Because people blame the Jones contract as to why Barkley walked. Jones' contract was not the reason why Barkley walked. It was the fact that they drafted so bad at certain positions on the offensive line, like Evan Neal, Josh Azudu, Deonte Banks, that they had to overpay for these free agents at non-premium positions in free agency. You give John Runyon $10 million. You give Paulson Adebo a 3-year, $54 million deal. You don't have to make that deal with Paulson Adebo if Deonte Banks had worked out.
Yep.
That's how I feel, right?
Completely agree.
That's why they couldn't keep him.
I think, to be honest with you, I think whether we pay Jones or not, I think Barkley walks either way.
Yeah, because he was unsatisfied with the current state of the team. And he knew it was not the quarterback, 100%. Quickly here with the injury report, we mentioned Mekhi Becton not practicing today. Darius Davidson did not practice. Starting tight end Will Dissly also did not practice, so expect Tyler Conklin to get the nod there on Sunday. Bozeman was limited today, so he will likely play. So if Becton can't go, it will be either Andre James or Jamari Salyer at right guard. So again, Dexter Lawrence, take advantage, buddy. For the Giants, or actually quickly here, let's stick with the Chargers. Najee Harris out for the rest of the season with an injury he suffered in the Week 3 game. Edge rusher Khalil Mack still on IR, as well as linebacker Denzel Perryman. So they're banged up. For the Giants, Chauncey Golston did not practice today. Raheem Nunez-Roches did not practice today. Tyrone Tracy will be out 2 to 4 weeks with a dislocated shoulder. Graham Gano did not practice today, so either Koo or Mikatamne will be promoted from the practice squad. And that's another thing, too. You leave 4 points off the board, and that was a massive problem. It should have been a one-possession win for Kansas City on Sunday Night Football, not two, but I digress. And then everyone else looks good to go. So that's good news.
I'm just gonna say this now. We got to go get a kicker in round 7 this year.
They should have did it last year, but they didn't. Instead, they took Corey Black, who they tried to clear off waivers and was signed by the Jets. It was just a stupid move. They could have drafted Ryan Fitzgerald out of Florida State, who, by the way, is the Panthers' starting kicker right now, and he's doing pretty good. So not every 38-year-old kicker could still start in the NFL. Quickly here, Jason, before we log off, what's your prediction for this game? Who wins, and what's your final score?
All right. We're at MetLife. Chargers got some injuries. They got a rookie running back starting. We got a rookie quarterback starting. Oh, I want to be biased, but I can't deny what Justin Herbert has been doing. Unfortunate, honest prediction. I got the Chargers 24, Giants 16.
All right. That's a pretty good prediction. I have a little bit higher scoring. I have the Chargers winning 30-24. I think they're able to get more points with Dart at QB. The defense is going to struggle covering all three of those receivers. It's just way too many weapons, and their quarterback play is near gold right now. Again, the only way that doesn't happen is if the Giants are able to get to the quarterback and take advantage of some injuries up front on that O-line, which I think they will, but they won't do it consistently enough to win the game. So that's where I'm at with that.
Yeah, for
Well,
me,
Jason,
it's less about winning the game. It's more like, are we executing with our game plan? Like, I don't even care about the win. I just want to see us playing better as a team.
yeah, look, I want to win the game as much as the next guy does, but you need to see signs of improvement. You can't get bombed again like you did in week 1 and week 3. You can't. And like I mentioned last week, week 2, I'm not even that high on anymore because Caleb Williams torched Dallas's defense last week. The Dallas defense is not good. It's not good. So if we score 24 points against a Chargers defense, that's good. And only lose by 6 or 8, like Jason said, I'll take that. I'll 100% take that. All right, Jason, we have 5 minutes now until Thursday Night Football kickoff. Anything you want to say or plug here before we sign off?
Oh, one thing I want to say, Jaxson Dart. As much as I'm not even gonna say dislike this player. As much as I don't like the worship over this player, Jaxson Dart kind of gives me like early signs of Joe Burrow. I don't know if anybody else sees that. I might be the only ones that see it. In terms of Jaxson Dart, his accuracy, his poise, the way his confidence, like I kind of see some signs of Joe Burrow in him. Not saying he will be the next Joe Burrow, but I'm just saying I do think him being the franchise QB is a step in the right direction. We just got to build off of that. That's all I have to say.
They have a similar swag, I think, too. Like Dart he's the complete opposite of Daniel Jones in terms of personality.
Right.
Robert Carter saying go IU, go Hoosiers, and then go Pittsburgh Steelers. Man, got a big game in Dublin this week against the Minnesota Vikings. So best of luck to both of your teams. Best of luck to everybody's teams. And remember, folks, to love one another. On behalf of Jason Edmondson, I'm Tom Scavetta saying so long. You've been watching Big Blue Avenue here on Facebook Live and YouTube. And without further ado, let's go Big Blue. Good night.